Shalom, ladies, and welcome to, I think we're in week 8 of Coffee and Connection. Really excited to see you all here. Hiya! Is that you on video for the first time? So nice to see you. Yay! Awesome. Moshe, how you doing? Beth, great to see you here. Let's see who else I can see on camera. I see there's a lot of people here. You're home in quarantine. Oh, refuah shlema. Everyone should be okay. I see Rifki's here on the phone. Hi, Rifki. Hi, Javi. Hi. Yay. Oh, you traveled. Wow. Okay. Hatzlacha. Enjoy. Enjoy your quarantine. Awesome. Miriam's here. Rachel's here. Who else is here? I see lots of awesome people. Welcome. Welcome. Great to have you all here. Okay, so let's jump into today's topic, which is such a big one and so important, right? Can we really choose to be happy? Now, before we jump into can we choose to be happy, let me first clarify what I mean by that. I do not mean can we pretend to be happy or can we be happy all the time? No, we cannot be happy all the time because we have real negative emotions. We have emotions. There is nothing wrong with having emotions. So, a lot of times when people talk about being happy, there's this like talk about how, anytime you have a negative emotion, it's almost like you have to push it away. And the problem with that is that it doesn't work, right? Because if you take an emotion, any emotion, a positive emotion, a negative emotion, and you try to push it away, basically what happens is two things. Number one, you don't either you try to push it away, but you can't actually push it away. So you end up pushing it down, and then it ends up coming out in some other way. It will like leak out of you. It'll come out in, when you don't want it to come out. It will, you know, um, it'll come out by yelling at someone that you don't want to yell at. It will make you sick, God forbid. It is there. You can't just pretend an emotion is there that's not there. Or the other thing that we can end up doing when we are trying to push away, if we think like, oh, I don't have that emotion, is that we end up shutting ourselves down from having emotion. And the problem with that is that you can't just shut off your negative emotions. If you try to shut off your emotions, not only will you not have negative emotions, you also won't have positive emotions. So, if any of you are feeling like you're getting frustrated and you don't know why, or you're losing it and you don't know why, or if you feel numb, if I would ask you, how do you feel, or what do you want? Your response would be, I don't know. I don't know what I'm feeling. Then that may be an indication that you're trying to push away or, pretend you don't have emotions. Okay. Now, the very first important thing to even do what I'm going to share with you now about how you can be happy, even when things are crazy, even when people aren't, their ideal self, the only way that you can do any of that is by having awareness and respect for your emotions. If you don't have awareness for your emotions, you can't deal with them. Right? Just like we talked about, I think it was last week, right? If you don't have awareness of what you want, you can't know if you found it. So the same thing with your feelings. If you don't have awareness of your feelings, you can't work through them, you can't deal with them, you can't do the whole process I'm going to teach you today. But so the very first step is to have awareness of the emotion. What am I feeling? And I'm going to invite you all to do it right now, right? Check in with yourself for a moment. What am I feeling right now? Even if you don't like it, right? What am I feeling? Am I feeling happy, excited? Am I just so glad to be here and I'm excited to hear what Chaya's going to say? Am I kind of disappointed? Am I sad? Chaya says happy and calm. That's awesome. Some of you might be just tired or sad about something, frustrated with the state of your relationship or your life, or scared. with everything that's going on, right? Feeling anxious, right? What's going to be? What's going to be with Hanukkah? What's going to be with the world? What's going to be with my life? Like, who knows, right? Some people might be feeling worried about someone, overwhelmed. Thank you. That's a feeling that we can feel. And once you know what you're feeling, the second thing to say is the second thing to do is to tell yourself that's okay, right? Respect that feeling. Now, people resist that because they think that that's going to mean they're going to get stuck in it. They're going to stay in it. I'm telling them to stay depressed or down, or I'm not telling you to do any of that. Okay. Watch what stories are going on in your head. All I'm asking you to do is tell yourself that's okay. That's okay. It's okay to have negative emotions because having negative emotions is a side effect, right, of having emotions, which is how we were created. Okay. We have emotions. So when you have an emotion, recognize the emotion, and then that's okay. And then the question is, well, if I'm having negative emotions, so what do I do with them? Right? I don't want to stay in them. I want to be happy. I want to be connected. I don't want to get hurt or sad or any of those things. Right? So what do you do next? Well, the next step is to realize that every emotion is caused by a thought. Every emotion is caused by something you are thinking, usually rooted in a story or a fear or a limiting belief. Okay. So once you have the feeling, you want to look for why am I feeling that? What is the thought that is creating that feeling, that is causing me to feel this feeling? And once you recognize that thought, right, you can be in control of your thoughts. You can get curious with that thought. Is that true? Is that what happened? Is that what he said? Or is that what I'm making it mean? Am I right? Is there a reason to be scared of that? Um, is what am I believing that made me think that? We'll do some examples after. I just want to first walk you through the process. And then once you've done that, you can question, once you've questioned it, once you've gotten curious with it, not from a judgmental point of view. Remember, we're respecting the feeling and we're respecting the thought. You can get curious about it, and then you have the power to change that thought and believe and think and what you want to believe, what you want to think, and then you get to feel what you want to feel. So let's use an example. Okay. If anyone wants to give me an example that they're going through, but I'll just give a very classic example. Your husband does something. He comes in and he says something to you that you don't like, or he does something that you don't like. Maybe he even says something hurtful. Maybe he tells you, "Oh, this place is such a mess. Oh my gosh, you want to see this is my living room, by the way, and my kitchen and my entranceway. This is my everything room. So welcome to the mess." Okay. And I even tried to cover up some of it for you, but you could see my chair where I dumped it all. So it didn't matter. Right. So let's say he walks in and he says, "The house is such a mess." And you feel hurt by that comment. You feel hurt. Now look at it and say, "Well, I'm hurt. I'm hurt by that comment. It hurt me that he said the house is a mess." Okay. And that's okay. Then I'm hurt. And now let's look at the thoughts. What is the thoughts? What are the thoughts that are causing me to feel hurt? Well, number one, if that would happen, right, which it has, my first thought would be I would feel hurt because as if he's saying that I'm not enough. I'm not doing enough. It's my responsibility to keep the house clean, and it's not clean. He's blaming me and he's judging me. And there that would mean that then I'm not, or he thinks I'm not good enough. Those would be the thoughts that would come to my mind. Okay? Then I get curious with those thoughts. Is that true? Is that true? So there's two parts to that. There's the question of, is that true in and of itself? And is it true that he might be thinking that? Okay? Because the very first thing you want to do is separate between, wait, is that what he said? Did he say all of those things? Or is that what I made his comment mean? He walked in and said, the house is a mess. I made it mean you are not good enough. You, Chana, is not good enough. I don't have a good wife, right? Is that what he said? No, actually, that's not what he said. He said the house is a mess. Well, it is. It is a mess, right? I can agree to that. I can agree that it's a mess. Is that now the question is that a bad thing that it's a mess? Does that mean I'm not doing enough? Well, no, it's not true that I'm not doing enough because I was really busy today. I mean, after this is over, I'll have been on Zoom for 4 hours today, plus a million other things that I had to do today. Plus, when I had the time that I could have cleaned, I was cleaning certain things. Oh, and I made dinner. I made a soup, which is yummy, right? And I made lunch for the kids. I made 2 meals today. That is a huge victory, okay? Hi. So cute. Um, and what else? Like I don't even need to get defensive of myself, right? As soon as I'm getting defensive, that's a clue that I'm allowing myself to feel a victim of his words. So hold on a second. Is it true that that the house is a mess? Yes, it's true. Is it true that that means I'm not enough? No, that's not true. It means that the house is a mess. So my pain, my hurt, as I work through it, I get to realize that, well, I'm only going to be hurt by that comment if if I have a belief that if the house isn't clean, I'm not good enough. And is that true? No, it's not true. Because I know that a messy house is a sign of people living in it, and I choose to put my focus elsewhere for much of the time, and that's okay. Is it true that the house is a mess? Yes, right? Especially when we can accept what's true. And if he's going to say, but I believe it's true, if he believes it's true, well, just because he believes it's true, it's only going to bother me if I believe it's true, right? If he came in and started yelling at me for having green hair, I wouldn't be offended by that because I don't have green hair. So that would be ridiculous to start blaming me for having green hair. So what are we saying here? That the only reason that comments or actions or anything affects our happiness in the long run, meaning, yeah, we might get hurt because we're human. We might get a thought of being hurt. We may be insulted. We may get sad. We may be scared. But and overall, as we work through our feelings, we get to choose how we feel because our feelings are caused by our thoughts and we can control our thoughts. We can control our beliefs. We can control our fears. And I mean, it's good to talk about fears right now because this is the week. This is one of the weeks where we really see how the fears create the fears, right? It is this week's Parsha. Well, it starts in this week's Parsha and it continues for the next 3. But Yosef has his dreams, right? He has these dreams that his brothers are going to bow down to him. He tells the dreams to his brothers, and his brothers say, oh my gosh, what if Joseph becomes this like big guy and we all end up bowing down to him? That would be horrible. So what are we going to do? We're going to get rid of him, right? We're going to throw him in a pit. We're going to sell him, whatever, however we understand the story. They get rid of him. They try to get rid of him. And that starts a chain of events that ends with them bowing down to Joseph in Mitzrayim. Their fear created the events. It started the events. It created the reality of their fear. And that's what happens when we live in fear. So if I have a fear, let's just take that back to the example of the mess, right? If I have a fear that my husband is going to judge me based on the state of the house, then that may cause me to constantly try to prove to him, defend myself, run to please him about the state of the house. And what does that tell him, right? If I get defensive about it, it tells him that there's actually something to get defensive about, right? Which then makes it up for discussion as to whether or not the house being clean is a measure of my awesomeness, right? Or my being good enough. And so that's going to allow that thought, allow that idea to be present in our relationship. If I'm able to be like, whatever, that's just not the truth, right? And I'm not going to go there with you because I know the truth. I know I'm doing my best, and my best is awesome, just as all of you are. Then I'm not going to allow space for that in our relationship. And so that won't be there. It won't be in the space. So instead of being in fear of, oh no, this is what he's going to think of me, I can go into my desire, right? Who do I want to be? What do I want for the house? What do I want for my home? What do I want for my relationship? And create that instead of creating the fear. Okay, so let's just go through that process again. We can use another example. Another one that comes up that really holds us back is, let's say, if our husbands say something we don't like, or, well, that's, I guess, the example I already did. Let's say, give me an example. Oh, there is stuff in the chat. Hold on, let me check on the chat. Happy and calm. Okay, so that was okay. Someone want to give me an example of a type of situation that could come up for you that would stop you from being happy, and we can use this process to work through it and allow you to be in the state that you want to be in, instead of stuck in a unhappy or negative state, right, that you don't want. If anyone wants to put one in, we can work through it together. Let's see. Sometimes I know it takes a minute for things to come through. But it looks like nobody wants to give me an example. You're all happy all the time already? When our husband doesn't compliment me, perfect. That's a great example. When my husband doesn't compliment me on my looks. I love that one. Okay, so let's say my husband doesn't compliment me on my looks. Either I get all dressed up and I think I look awesome, and then I go out and he doesn't say anything. Or I realize it's been like 6 months since he said something about how I look. Or I make myself vulnerable, I put on some nice lingerie, whatever. And when I come out, he doesn't say anything. He doesn't tell me how nice I look. And so I feel, fill in the blank. I feel hurt. I feel sad. I feel defeated. I feel depressed, whatever you feel. Okay. And that's okay. It's okay to feel that way. What is the thought that is creating that feeling? What is the thought that's creating that feeling? Well, let's say the thought is he should compliment me every time I get dressed up. Or if he didn't compliment me, it means he doesn't find me attractive. Or the fact that he didn't compliment me means that that he finds other women more attractive than me, or he thinks I'm old and wrinkly, or he thinks I'm too overweight, or he doesn't like me anymore. Whatever it is that we make it mean, okay? Then you can look at, is that true? Is it true that my husband doesn't find me attractive? Well, it doesn't seem like it, right? You could ask yourself, is it true that he doesn't find you attractive? Is he interested in you? Right? Does he show interest in you physically? Right? That probably means he's attracted to you. Is it possible that he's complimenting you in ways that you're not realizing? Is it possible that when he compliments you, you kind of shoo him away and say, that's not true. I have to lose 10 pounds, right? So you can get curious with those thoughts. Is it true that if a husband doesn't compliment his wife, it means he doesn't find her attractive? Well, no, it could just mean that he doesn't know how to compliment, or he doesn't know when to compliment, or he doesn't know how to compliment. It can mean a lot of things. But notice, like, how you're notice the difference between what happened from what I'm making it mean. He didn't compliment me means he didn't compliment me. It doesn't have to mean all those other things I'm making it mean, right? That's where it's very important for us to draw that separation between what happened and the stories I'm making it mean. And then we can get curious with those stories. Why do I believe that? Right? Chai is even asking, how do these thoughts, how do these original negative talks begin? They usually begin sometime in our childhood. So that's one of the things you can do as you're getting curious and questioning your beliefs and your thoughts is, where is that coming from? Why do I believe that if my husband doesn't compliment me, he means that he thinks I'm ugly? Like, where did I get that from? It means he's, gonna find someone else, God forbid. Where did I get that from? Oh, when I was a kid, I heard my mother say that about someone. Or when I saw that kids played with all the pretty kids were the popular kids in school, so I told myself that. Or my mother or my sister or someone on TV always made it like, they had to lose weight so that people would find them attractive. You find when you like look back and think, where did I get this from? Not in a judgmental way, in a curious way. Where is this story coming from? Because then you can ask yourself, is it true? Is it true? And the majority of the time, the answer is no. It's not true. It's not true that that happened. It's not true that he said that. It's not true that what we made it mean didn't happen. The stories we came up with, let's just recognize that most of the stories we're living on happened when we were like 0 to 10, if not earlier. So like 0 to 5, which means that did we have like what's the word, logical, concrete thoughts? No, we didn't. Besides the fact that everything is conceptual, so we then add things in that seem to have nothing to do with what we originally believed. But also we were creating judgments, we were creating beliefs without being able to see the whole picture. So if you're basing your judgment on the fact that, if you're basing your judgment on the fact that um, my husband won't find me attractive because my mother told me that, well, is that actually what your father believed? Or was that just something your mother said when she was feeling low about herself? Or if you saw it on TV, does that make it real? If your sister said it, does that mean that she was teaching you something true? Like, we don't have the full context in that moment, right? So we're living our adult lives based on beliefs that we picked up when we were like 3 years old. How crazy is that? Right? So much of the work of living consciously, happy, connected is being able to get curious and question and then shift those beliefs into beliefs that will actually serve us. And yeah, it's really hard to get rid of these thoughts. As Hai is saying, it is hard, but it's possible, right? It takes being conscious, and it takes like knowing how to work through that process. Ask yourself these questions over and over until it becomes your natural way of thinking, that when you have a negative feeling, you immediately tune in and say, whoa, what's going on? Why am I feeling this way? Where's that coming from? Is that the truth? Okay. And what's often happening is that we are getting stuck. We're getting stuck on these thoughts. We're getting stuck in these beliefs. And then we feel held down by them. And then and rather than recognizing that we control our feelings from our own thoughts, we can start actually blaming other people. I can blame my husband. I'm in a bad mood because he didn't compliment me. I can blame my husband that I'm sad because he told me, he said the house was a mess. But then we're the victim. We're the victim of his words. We're the victim of our surroundings. We're the victim of our overwhelm, whatever it is that's causing those negative feelings, and we can't get out of it. What we're talking about here, when we get curious and real with our feelings and then the thoughts behind them, is we are fully empowered. We are not victim to anyone else because we are the only ones that control our thoughts. So if we're feeling stuck in any situation, if I'm feeling hurt because my husband said something to me and I can't get out of it, or he did something, or the situation I'm in, I can't. Well, when we can recognize that I'm only feeling that way because of the thoughts I'm telling myself, then we have the power to get out of it, because we have the power to change our thoughts and then change our beliefs. Okay. So I see some other questions coming in. Let me just quickly look to see if any of them are directly related to this question. Um, Okay, so one person is asking that no matter what, she finds it very hard to stay out of the negative thought patterns and go into the positive mindset. So, what I would invite you to do is really ask yourself, when you're in that mindset over and over, what are the thoughts that keep making me sad? What are the thoughts that are keeping me in this negative mindset? And go for and when you're saying I'm negative, I'm in a negative mindset, ask yourself, what is exactly that I'm feeling? And then what am I thinking that's creating that? Okay, because as we said in the beginning, if you don't know what you're feeling and you don't know what you're thinking, you can't control it. You can't take ownership of it. And if you don't have ownership, you don't have control. You're not empowered. Okay. So I'd really invite you to get so curious with yourself. And if your mind says, I don't know, then you do know, right? I don't know is a way that we deal with not wanting to be vulnerable with ourselves or with other people. You can remind yourself, it's okay. It's okay what I feel. It's okay. And allow those thoughts, those feelings and those thoughts to come up, right? That's what it is to be vulnerable, is to be okay, able to feel all those feelings and then recognize the thoughts behind the feelings, even though we may not like the feelings, and we may like the thoughts even less than we like the feelings, right? No one wants to admit how hurt we get by silly comments that people make, right? No one wants to admit that it's that they're that yeah, the house is a mess. No one wants to admit that it hurts them so much that their husband doesn't tell them how pretty they look. We don't may not want to admit that to ourselves. We may not want to admit that we're basing these things on things that happened when we were so little. But without being real and honest and authentic and vulnerable, even with ourselves, especially with ourselves, then we really can't work through it and take ownership of it. Okay. So I hope that that was helpful. You can have someone, Margarita is saying we need to have positive message mantras for ourselves and about our husbands. It's a voda. Yes, you can do that. What I would invite you to do is to do this work and then create the positive mantra. Because if you're telling yourself the positive mantra over the negative feelings and the negative thoughts, it's like putting a band aid on a really bad infection. It's not only is it not going to work, it's going to get worse because you're going to keep telling yourself these positive things, but the negative feelings and thoughts are going to keep popping up and you won't know why. And then you'll get frustrated with yourself and you won't be who you want to be because you'll lose control in those moments when the negative things come up. Once you've done the work and uncovered the negative feelings, uncovered the negative thoughts behind those feelings, then you can tell yourself your new truth over and over again to reprogram your brain from the negative things you've been telling yourself up until this moment. Okay. Okay, so how can we work on being more positive in general? Honestly, with everything I just described, right? As you're working through your feelings and working through your thoughts, then you can choose to be positive. You can choose not to get pulled down by those negative things. You can choose to have positive beliefs, mostly by not allowing yourself to go into those negative spirals where you make things mean all these negative things, right? And instead you tell yourself empowering messages. You tell yourself the truths that will keep you in a positive state, like I am beautiful whether he tells me I'm beautiful or not. I am enough whether the house is clean or not. um I am, I'm doing my best and my best is awesome, even if things aren't going the way I want or people aren't treating me the way I want to be treated, or especially, as Rachel said, when I'm feeling overwhelmed, right? That is going to be so powerful. Okay. So, and then that leads to connection, right? Because when I don't get pulled into those things, I don't get pulled into the drama, I don't allow these negative interactions to take over the relationship, right? I don't allow myself to go there and be pulled into that negative stuff. And that doesn't mean I'm allowing people to treat me horribly, right? As we said before, most of the time when I think someone's treating me horribly, it's really my own stuff. But, anyways, when someone says those things, you can recognize that hurt, that bothered me, and kind of like give that space of like, I'm hurt by that, but also work through those feelings and those stories on your own, those thoughts, so that you don't get pulled into a whole negative pattern, which is what we were talking about last week. Okay, so the Ayin Tova question is an amazing question, Moshe. We're going to have to leave that for another time. Great, great question. And great. So I invite you all to really use this to allow yourself, especially as we move into holidays, which, yay, holidays, and who knows what's going to be during the holidays. And we're with everyone, and drama can get really high, especially if we have expectations about what Hanukkah should be like and what candle lighting should be like. So I invite you to be very aware of your feelings, very aware of the thoughts behind the feelings, so that then you can choose who you want to be this Hanukkah and always. Okay, stay tuned next week. Bezrat Hashem, we'll do something special for Hanukkah. I'm really excited to see you all then. And until then, may we all be blessed to live, love, and be loved with all our hearts. Goodbye for now.